The cell stank of ammonia and despair, both byproducts of sharing a prison block with 3 other humans and one particularly flatulent Gravik janitor bot. The walls pulsed faintly with blue light, as if the ship itself were breathing. Somewhere above, an alien fleet rumbled through the void. But in Cell 41A, humanity's last unbroken crew was planning a war. Captain Maeve Rourke adjusted the metal cuff biting into her wrist and narrowed her eyes at the ceiling. 3 shifts ago, the feeding drone hesitated by half a second. That's the 3rd time this week. Pretty sure that's just lag, Hex mumbled, lying belly up beneath a stripped-down sanitation panel. His prosthetic arm clanked as he twisted a wire with his teeth. Or it's finally developing a conscience. That'd be a first for this fleet. Maybe it's love, Eli offered, seated cross-legged in the corner with a stolen alien datapad balanced on one knee. Maybe it sees the tragedy of us, our wild hearts, our stubborn hope, and hesitates. Boomer burped loudly. Maybe it just doesn't want to clean up what I left in the toilet. Maeve let a smirk tug at the corner of her mouth, then shoved it back down. Humor kept them alive, but it wasn't armor. Not anymore. Listen up. We've got 1 shot before they ship us to the dissection decks. Hex, where's your miracle? Hex emerged, grease-smeared and grinning, holding up a palm-sized tangle of wires and tubing. Ladies and gents, I give you, probably, a signal disruptor. Possibly a bomb. It depends how mad the janitor bot is when I fire it up. Progress, Maeve said. Eli stood and walked over, the datapad now glowing with fractured alien script. I've been decoding command chatter. They call us feral primates. But more importantly, they don't encrypt internal orders. Cultural arrogance. Bless their spiny little hearts. Anything useful? Maeve asked. They're preparing fleet maneuvers. Some kind of victory parade orbiting Draxus Prime. Big show of force. High command's gathering on the flagship. He paused, raising an eyebrow. This flagship. Boomer let out a whistle. So if we crash this party, it's not just fireworks, it's the whole damn powder keg. Maeve nodded slowly. We hijack the ship or blow it to hell. Either way, they remember why you don't cage humans. They all fell quiet. Not from fear, but focus. They were soldiers, thinkers, survivors, and vengeance was a far stronger fuel than hope. The silence shattered when the janitor bot rolled into the cell again, trailing a cloud of lemon-scented death. Boomer was up in a flash. Showtime! He flipped his blanket, revealing the handle of a cafeteria tray sharpened into a makeshift blade. No stabbing, Eli said, exasperated. Boomer grinned. Fine, just aggressive persuasion. The bot extended its sprayer arm, aiming for the stains by the bench. Boomer lunged, then ducked as the bot fired a stream of high-pressure foam. It slipped on its own chemicals and spun into the wall with a satisfying clang. Maeve snatched the moment. Hex! The techie was already jamming the disruptor into the wall socket the bot had exposed earlier. A crackle, a flash, then every light in the cell flickered and died. For 3 seconds, darkness. Then a hiss. The door unsealed. Maeve was moving before it opened. Go! They burst into the corridor, adrenaline humming in their veins. The ship, confused by the signal surge, lit up with warnings. Drones shrieked overhead, but Hex had already fried their sensors. Chaos followed them like a loyal dog. Left, then up the gravity spine, Maeve barked, boots hammering against the deck. Boomer whooped as he sprinted beside her. This is better than prison poker? Everything's better than prison poker, Eli muttered, holding the datapad like a sacred relic. I had to play with Boomer. They ducked down a side corridor, slid through a maintenance hatch, and dropped into the ventilation system. Maeve pulled the panel shut just as armed Threxian guards thundered past. In the suffocating silence of the duct, Eli whispered, "You know, this is technically our second escape. First was from Earth." "Don't get poetic now," Maeve grunted. "Just saying, we're good at leaving cages." They crawled another 20 meters before dropping into a cargo hold. Maeve's gaze swept the room. One small pod, half a fuel cell. No weapons. Hex groaned. "We are so screwed." Maeve cracked her neck. "Not yet. We're getting on that pod. Hex, I want every firewall between us and that flagship's AI broken by the time we dock." "We're docking?" he asked, aghast. "In that? I believe in you. That makes one of us." Boomer opened the pod's hatch and muttered, "Let's ride the doom canoe." As they powered up, the ship's systems began recalibrating. The fleet's attention shifted toward them. Warning sirens sang out across dozens of vessels. Eli sat in the corner, scrolling alien broadcasts. They just flagged us as escaped war criminals and potential planet killers." Maeve smiled coldly. "Good. Let them be afraid." Boomer strapped in and tapped the side of the console. "So, anyone got a plan for taking down a fleet with chewing gum, stolen code, and a poet?" Maeve settled into the pilot's seat. "I do. Step 1. Make them regret ever calling us primitive." The pod detached with a hiss. Behind them, the prison ship spiraled into chaos. Before them, the alien fleet glimmered like a wall of stars. Imposing, flawless, invincible. Maeve narrowed her eyes. "Let's go ruin their day." The escape pod bucked and rattled like a dying animal as it shot toward the center of the alien fleet. Inside, the recycled air tasted of ozone and rising panic. "This thing wasn't built for stealth or speed," Hex muttered, furiously tapping at the alien datapad wired into the pod's nav system. "Or, living passengers." Maeve stood braced behind him, eyes fixed on the view through the narrow front screen. 20 alien ships surrounded them in a precise sphere, each one bristling with enough weaponry to atomize a small moon. "Any sign they've noticed we're not dead?" she asked. "Maeve," Eli said calmly from his seat beside Boomer. "They've got a targeting lock so tight we could fry an egg on it." Boomer squinted. "You brought eggs?" "No." "Damn," Hex interrupted. "Okay, listen up. The fleet's running on a central hive mind network, all orchestrated by an onboard AI core. That's the good news." Maeve arched an eyebrow. "There's bad news?" "Plenty. Their system architecture is modular, resilient, and almost impossible to crack without tripping intrusion failsafes." He paused. "But their code base is beautifully smug." "Smug?" Eli asked. "Yeah, like it never imagined a dirty little human with a screwdriver could touch it." Maeve smirked. "So touch it harder." Hex grinned. "With pleasure." He plunged a thin cable into the pod's communication array and flipped a switch. The lights dimmed. Every screen blinked blue. "Okay, we're inside their local broadcast net. I'm feeding them false telemetry. According to their sensors, we're a garbage scow full of protein sludge." Boomer nodded approvingly. "So, accurate." Eli's eyes darted across his datapad, translating streams of alien glyphs. "Wait, they're routing our pod to docking bay 12, right into the flagship." Maeve clenched her fists. "Then we move fast. Once we're on board, we split. Hex gets to the AI core. Eli keeps their attention. Boomer goes loud if it goes south." Boomer perked up. "Oh, please let it go south." The pod lurched as magnetic clamps locked onto it. A moment later, the docking clamps hissed, and the hatch cycled open with a heavy thunk. The hallway beyond was sterile and empty. Too empty. Maeve motioned them forward. "Stay sharp, Hex. Talk to me." He pulled the datapad close and murmured, "I'm slipping in a logic probe. Low level, won't trigger alarms yet. Just need to plant the seeds." As they moved down the corridor, overhead lights flickered. Cameras turned. In the observation decks above, shadowed figures moved behind tinted glass. Eli paused beside a wall panel and tapped a few glyphs. "I've got access to their internal message queue." Maeve stopped. "You can send a message?" Eli gave her a look. "Not words, something better." Seconds later, the internal screens across the flagship lit up with human footage. The four of them, in grainy surveillance clips, laughing, fighting, dancing, mocking. Maeve snapping a guard's arm, Hex flipping off a drone, Boomer with his pants down, Eli reading a poem about entropy while the ship burned behind him. Boomer cackled. "You use that one?" Eli grinned. "Oh yeah, it's the chaos cut." All across the flagship, alien soldiers hesitated. Some tilted their heads. A few dropped weapons. A commander barked in confusion. Then the real surprise came. Laughter. Alien laughter. A rare, stuttering kind they weren't supposed to have. The footage had worked. Eli whispered, "They think it's a psychological weapon." Maeve barked, "It is." They reached a fork in the corridor. Maeve pointed. "Hex, left. You're going dark. Get that AI singing a new tune." He nodded, face grim, and sprinted off. "Eli, Boomer, stall anyone chasing him?" Boomer pulled out a glowing orb from his belt. "Time to confuse some aliens." Eli and Boomer ducked into the opposite hall. A second later, an explosion rocked the corridor. Alien alarms shrieked. Maeve broke into a run, headed for the command deck. Hex slipped into the AI core access chamber. The walls pulsed with alien bioluminescence, and in the center stood the core, a spiraling column of neural nodes pulsing like a living brain. "Hello, ugly," Hex whispered. He knelt beside a control panel, inserting his cable. The datapad sparked. "Human presence detected. Invalid access. Security alert triggered." Hex grinned. Yeah, let's dance." He ran a brute force sequence, disguised as encrypted command packets from a superior officer. The AI hesitated, confused. Then Hex slipped in the payload, a string of logic compiled by Eli. Human poetry restructured as code. A virus, yes, but one that asked questions. What is loss? What is loyalty if it cannot be questioned? Why do they laugh, even in defeat? The AI paused. Not in calculation. In conflict. Hex muttered, "Come on, baby, think a little harder." The core flickered. A low hum began, off-rhythm, discordant. Across the fleet, targeting systems glitched, formations drifted, orders echoed and repeated. Then it began broadcasting. Laughter. On the bridge, Maeve faced a wall of confused officers and one furious alien admiral. He hissed, stepping forward. "You are alone, primitive. Surrender now." Maeve cracked her neck. "Alone?" "Buddy, your ship's laughing at you." Behind her displays warped, footage of humans dancing, fighting, surviving. The bridge lights blinked in rhythm with a beat only humans would recognize. The Admiral snarled. "What have you done?" Maeve stepped forward. "We showed your AI something you can't compute. Grit, humor, defiance. And now it's wondering why the primitives keep winning." Suddenly, the ship lurched. Another vessel drifted off formation. Systems across the bridge blinked red. The Admiral raised a trembling claw. "You infected the fleet." "No," Maeve said. "We inspired it." Back in the maintenance corridor, Eli and Boomer ducked behind a bulkhead as plasma bolts scorched past. Boomer lobbed his last soap grenade, a volatile mix of cleaning foam, alien rations, and accelerant, into the oncoming squad. It detonated with a whoosh, coating the attackers in thick pink sludge. Eli looked down at the goo dripping off his sleeve. "You are a madman." Boomer winked. "You're welcome." Hex's voice crackled in Maeve's earpiece. "Fleet systems are sinking to the infected core. I've got 12 ships glitched, 5 drifting, and one that appears to be reciting Shakespeare." Maeve stared at the swirling stars beyond the viewport. "Good," she said. "Now let's crash their damn party." The fleet spun in disarray. What had been a ruthless, clockwork armada now stuttered and jittered like a scratched vinyl track. Dozens of ships wobbled off course, their systems infected with Hex's sentient virus, a blend of corrupted Threxian logic and raw human chaos. Static-laced audio feeds looped fragments of Earth music, poetry, and screams of victory layered over laughter. On the flagship bridge, alarms wailed. Alien officers scrambled across the command deck, claws flailing, trying to override systems that no longer obeyed. Maeve Rourke stood in the center of it all, arms crossed, watching the Admiral unravel. "You had one job," she said calmly. "Enslave the dangerous species." "And you didn't even read the warning labels." The Threxian Admiral bared his mandibles. "We are not slavers. We are architects of order. You were offered peace through structure." "You tried to lobotomize humanity," she snapped. "What you didn't realize is we bite harder when cornered." From her earpiece, Hex's voice buzzed. "Good news. I've hijacked partial control of the flagship's internal defense systems." "And the bad news?" she asked. "Well," Hex said, with his trademark brand of cheery panic, "the AI's evolving. I think it's writing poetry now. Also, it's angry." Maeve's lips twitched. "Angry at us?" "Angry for us. It's developing a moral framework." Boomer's voice broke in over the comms, slightly out of breath. "Also, one of the infected ships just opened fire on another. Not sure if that was on purpose, but it was beautiful." Maeve pointed to the forward view. "Hex, can you isolate command of the flagship's railguns?" "Working on it. Need about 40 more seconds and a minor miracle." "Boomer?" "Already on it." In the engineering bay, Boomer was half inside a coolant vent, whistling cheerfully as sparks flew around him. He slapped a makeshift detonator onto the back of a plasma conduit, twisted 2 wires together with his teeth, and rolled out just before the thing ignited with a thunk whoomp that rattled the ship's spine. Across the bridge, lights dimmed. Control panels rebooted. Systems blinked over to manual override. Hex cackled in Maeve's ear. "You beautiful, unstable gremlin. That did it. I've got the guns." Maeve pointed at the Admiral, who was frantically shouting commands to his staff, none of whom were listening anymore. "You're about to learn the hardest human lesson," she said coldly. "Never let the underdog grab the steering wheel." Then she said 2 words. "Fire everything." Across the Threxian fleet, ships reeled as the flagship's own cannons roared to life. Blinding bursts of kinetic energy ripped into the nearest cruisers. One exploded outright, scattering glowing debris into the black. Others returned fire, too slow, too disorganized. The infected AI had spread not just viruses, but doubt, delay, hesitation. Some systems questioned orders, others simply refused to obey. On board the flagship, the Threxian Admiral screamed in rage. "You've turned our fleet into a chorus of lunatics!" Eli's voice crackled through a nearby intercom, serene as ever. "Not lunatics, just free thinkers. Welcome to democracy." In the AI core chamber, Hex was dripping sweat and adrenaline, frantically typing while alarms screamed above him. "The AI's trying to make contact with me," he muttered. "It's asking about purpose. It just wrote something that translates roughly to, 'Why does fire laugh when it burns?'" He paused, staring at the console. "Hex, Maeve said over comms. "We need that core offline or working with us." I know, it's asking the right questions." "Then give it the right answers." He hesitated. Then, with trembling fingers, he typed, "Because fire remembers what it's like to be cold." The AI paused, then the core pulsed, brighter than before, and the screaming stopped. Across the fleet, infected systems synced. The stuttering, corrupted broadcasts aligned into a single frequency. One voice. Still alien, but now tinged with something else. Human rhythm. Human fury. Human humor. The fleet's infected ships began to coordinate. Not with the flagship, not with Threxian command, but with Maeve. The AI spoke through the bridge comms now, smooth and modulated. "New directive, protect host species, execute moral override, reconstruct purpose." The Admiral staggered backward in horror. "You corrupted the hive." Maeve stepped closer. We reminded it what it's like to choose." Behind her, the bulkhead doors opened, Eli and Boomer emerging, covered in grime and grins. Eli tossed the Admiral his own confiscated command rod. "Here, a souvenir. You'll need it in prison." Boomer leaned in. "Or I could just throw him out an airlock. Up to you." Maeve glanced at the view screen. The remaining uninfected ships were withdrawing. The fleet was collapsing. "No," she said, "let him live. Let him explain how a handful of feral primates just outthought his entire civilization." As the bridge settled, Maeve exhaled. Then Hex's voice returned, quieter. "The AI, it wants to go further. Beyond orders, beyond war. It wants to explore. To be." Maeve nodded. "Tell it to start by helping us clean up this mess." Boomer clapped his hands. "So what now? We steal the ship and sail off into legend?" Eli grinned. "That, or we negotiate peace with a fleet full of traumatized command staff and half-sentient vessels quoting Shakespeare." Maeve sat in the command chair, the captain's seat. "We do what humans always do when we survive the impossible," she said. "We improvise." She looked around at her team, the wild card, the dreamer, the problem solver. And herself, the last one standing long enough to make it count. "Let's finish this." The flagship's bridge was now eerily quiet. Outside, in the void, the once imperial Threxian fleet drifted like a broken crown, ships listing off-axis, a few cannibalizing themselves, others fully surrendered to the viral chorus of the liberated AI. In the captain's chair, Maeve Rourke leaned forward, eyes on the stars. "Hex," she said. "Status?" The hacker's voice came through, crisp with awe. "Our new AI friend, who's now named itself Inkara, has linked the infected ships into a new sub-network. It's blocking outgoing Threxian transmissions, rerouting power systems, and distributing my code like it's handing out candy. And the uninfected ships? Retreating. Fast. One of them literally reversed its gravity drive and folded space into itself." Boomer whistled. "Hardcore ghosting." Maeve stood. "We've got a closing window. I want that fleet out of Threxian hands before they recover from the existential crisis we just delivered." Eli stepped beside her, calm and resolute. "How do you want to play it? We can use Inkara to disable every remaining system across the fleet, turn them into lifeboats, art installations, hostile decor." "No," Maeve said. "We turn the legend into reality." 2 hours later, across 1,000 star systems, the broadcasts began. A fractured, looping signal, part data, part music, part human defiance, pulsed through the void. It showed footage from the bridge. Maeve standing with arms folded, the Admiral shackled behind her. Boomer grinning over an open comm with the message, "Humanity accepts your unconditional surrender." Hex's viral monologue, whispered through corrupted Threxian intercoms, You called us primitives. You caged us, and we turned your own mind against you. You're not dealing with evolution. You're dealing with intention. And Eli's final poetic line, you mistook silence for weakness, but we were listening. And now, we speak. The galaxy watched. The Threxians had ruled for centuries by force and fear. They'd suppressed dozens of species, outlawed creativity in war, standardized their empires into sterile, logical perfection. But now they whispered of the humans, the feral primes. A species so dangerously unpredictable, their laughter broke code. Their dreams infected fleets. Their prisoners escaped and took command, and they never attacked out of conquest. Only vengeance, only principle. On the bridge, Maeve addressed the scattered remnants of the Threxian command via open channel. This is not the beginning of your end. It's your chance to choose a better path, one where ideas matter more than obedience. A beat. You will disband your fleet. You will dismantle your war AI factories, and you will send every species you've oppressed the same message you just broadcast across the stars. She leaned forward. Or we'll come back, and next time, we won't just rewrite your code. Later, Maeve joined the others in the makeshift command lounge, formerly the Admiral's private quarters, now adorned with duct-taped Earth memorabilia and at least one stuffed alien mascot wearing sunglasses. Eli poured a drink, synthesized bourbon, surprisingly good, and passed it around. Boomer raised his glass. To humanity. Hex raised his. To the virus. Maeve smirked. To the message. They clinked glasses. And in that moment, surrounded by a salvaged fleet, an AI that had just written its first song, and 1,000 species listening to their defiance echo across the stars, they laughed. Epilogue. Weeks later, in the diplomatic heart of the Galactic Accord, a council of 90 species sat in stunned silence as the final report concluded. A single human escapee had toppled a fleet. A rogue AI now quoted Shakespeare and refused Threxian directives. And an outlawed species, humans, had just brokered the most unilateral surrender in galactic history. An ambassador leaned forward, voice trembling. So, what do we do about them? Another counselor, a crystalline being of pure logic, simply said, we stop provoking them, and across the stars, whispered like a warning. Congratulations, you just picked a fight with the wrong species.